Evil geniuses have claimed the throne as the new champions of the LCS for the very first time, and did it with a combination of excellently executed team fights, but also through great understanding of draft, consistently ensuring them strong team compositions every game of the series. I break down the draft here so that you guys at home better understand their thought process and how they capitalize on the weakness that 100T showed as the series progressed. Moving on to game 1. The series starts off with 100T on red side, e.g. ban Lucian, Lee Sin, and Ahri, which are champions that 100T have been prioritizing heavily, as well as the Ahri providing a safe opener into most matchups at the moment. 100T have their own bans in the form of the Nocturne, Zeri, and LeBlanc. Zeri has not been nerfed hard enough as of this time, so it's still a strong B opener. The Nocturne is a tech pick here that 100T probably don't have the tools to really deal with based on the comp they're going for, and LB has proven to create a lot of room for teams to work with overall. We start off with the Jinx B1, which is both very standard and strong right now. No issues here. Clearly, 100T have done some prep work here, instantly snagging both an Aphelios and a Renata here R1, R2. The Renata is the interesting piece because it's not normally that easy to blind her, but 100T is so confident that EG does not really have an answer here. It looks like it was the read though, because EG ended up going for the Tahm Kench anyways, giving the Renata Aphelios combo a ton of room to scale and stretch your legs. In this slot, EG also ended up going for the Jarvan, which is a great generalist jungler right now for his high agency, high flexibility, and ability to lock down the Aphelios if need be. 100T attempts to counter the Jarvan pick with a Trundle R3, which also tells EG that they're committing to a backwards comp that's focused on DPS. Matchup wise, 100T is faring pretty well here, but they've essentially revealed how their comp plays already, which gives a decent amount of room for EG to counter their comp on B4, B5. Based on the current meta, EG is mainly looking for ways to do a better job at front to backing with their comp, or to find other ways to potentially poke and siege instead. From here, the mid pool is choked tremendously, with EG banning out great control mage options for the R4 slot, while 100T choke out Victor as well as the Gwen to maximize the agency on topside. TF gets picked R4 here, which complements the most likely winning topside and is also a decent blind. Jojo Pyun comes out to respond with a Rise, and the Ornn comes in to round out the comp and hopefully create that front to back that EG is looking for. 100T aim for the strongest matchup possible here with the Aatrox, complementing their comp's conditions and teamfight style as well. Both comps are pretty strong overall in my opinion and have similar styles, with EG focusing on being slightly more proactive and 100T playing more backwards and allowing EG to engage into them. Because of this, and the winning or even matchups across the board, I think this draft is favored for 100T 60-40. What gets EG back here though is the ease of execution of their comp and just how flexible it is. If they don't play into 100T's conditions and play the fights pretty slow, then that is where they will find their strides. Now onto game 2. 100T opted for red side once again, and the only ban that was changed was the Jinx ban instead of LeBlanc by 100T. EG opened with J4. The now open LeBlanc was subsequently snatched up with Abbedagge, as well as a Nautilus Blind for Huhi, leading to multiple strong points for this team to start off. Jojo Pyun goes for the Rise once again to threaten the scaling and sideline pressure, and Danny now opts for the Xayah B3, being one of the strongest remaining ADs left of the pool. 100T attempts to match with the Aphelios again, which I find weird because it doesn't really achieve anything here. I think options such as Misfortune or even Ezreal probably would have been better picks here, as they allow 100T to match better into the Xayah in terms of teamfight styles. Even picks like Ziggs would have been great here as well. EG choke out the jungle pool for closer, taking out both the Viego and the Trundle, whereas 100T removed the Rakan for the Xayah pairing and counter into the mobility champs they have, as well as the same potential Gwen blind from last time. 100T plays a high priority on the Ornn here this time, actually picking it R4. I'm sure it was just to take it away, but saving R5 for jungle seems relatively low impact here. If they were going to do something like this, they could have saved support or AD pick for later instead, and attempt to make more use of the strengths for the red side picks. Impact goes for a spicy pick here in the Mordekaiser, which is an awesome winning matchup into the Ornn. Normally, Mordekaiser doesn't slot well into many team comps actually, because his champion identity is relatively narrow, and there's a lot of situations where he can't be effective. But here, EG can play a perfect 4-1 comp while forcing Ornn into a losing side lane in many situations. This either forces 100T into never having good wave states, or creates situations where they need to have weird lane assignments or even use more resources than normal to push them out. The R5 is Graves from 100T, which helps bring up the damage levels for the comp, but in my opinion doesn't really achieve much in the grand scheme of things. 100T now have the easy to pilot team comp, but I think that's with losing matchups in both top and bot, and the ability to force 100T's comp to play out normally. I would actually favor this draft 60-40 for EG. Finally, onto game 3. 100T are on blue side for the first time this series, and they pivot their bans to put LeBlanc back on the table, as well as ban the TK to deal with the Jinx combo, potentially R1, R2. EG have stuck to the same bans for the entirety of the series. Zeri is open for the first time this series, so 100T snag it for first pick. EG now go for the J4 Nautilus opener, pretty standard stuff. 100T respond with the Viego Leona, which ensures winning matchups on both jungle and support here, pretty decent stuff actually. First phase rounds out with Danny on the Xayah once again, which I'd say puts EG in a pretty good spot still. At this point, I would say neither team has really shown too much in terms of the way they play, so things are pretty even all things considered. 100T banned the Ornn R4 from EG as well as an Akali, which means they're fishing for an interesting pick here in which Akali actually counters. EG banned both Azir and Twisted Fate from 100T, again pushing down the limits of Abe's mid pool. EG go for a standard Victor R4, a champion that fares well into mid lane matchups right now. Abe spices it up even more with this pick, going for the Vex here, and shifts the entire comp identity for this team. Personally, I think this pick is pretty garbage actually, because this focuses your team comp into a backline dive comp, which Xayah is already excellent at answering. 100T also blind Aatrox to hope that EG doesn't really have an answer out of their comp. In this way, it's kind of a weird but smart pairing because the Vex forces EG to pick a backwards top laner, which almost in a way provides leverage for the Aatrox to get a decent matchup, because he likes those matchups. Because of this, EG opt for the Gnar, in which they determine is the best champion for the mix of both worlds here. Aatrox is happy into this matchup, especially in the early levels, but Gnar can fare on his own with enough time to incubate and kind of do his job for the team. I think mainly because of the way Vex gravitates the way 100T play fights, and because EG have the right tools to answer it overall, I would actually favor this draft 65-35 for EG. So that's my draft analysis for the series. You can sort of tell the slope of desperation that 100T built as the games progressed, and it was great execution by EG to really take advantage of this. Hopefully this was insightful to you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay fresh.